Hello everyone. So before going into the next topic, which is the method of characteristics, we will study some basic concepts or the prerequisites which are required for understanding the next section, that is the method of characteristics. So first we will see what do we mean by a well-posed problem. A PDE is said to be well-posed if it satisfies three conditions, and these three conditions were proposed by Hadamard. So these conditions are called Hadamard's condition for a well-posed problem. So a PDE is said to be well-posed if it has a solution. That is, first of all, the solution should exist. And the second condition is that the solution should be unique. That is, there should not be more than one solution. So we know in ODE we have already studied existence and uniqueness of solution in connection with Picard's theorem and all. Okay, now this is for PD. So it says that first of all the solution should exist, and if it exists the solution should be unique. There should not be more than one. And the third condition is the stability condition, which means that the solution should depend on the initial data. That is, if there is a small change in the initial data, then the solution should also vary slowly. That is, if the initial data change, if there is a small change in the initial data, then the solution should not vary in a very big manner or in an extreme manner. So such situation should not be there. So the solution should depend continuously on the initial data. That is called stability. So if these three conditions are satisfied, we say that the PDE is well posed. Now second we will see, so that topic is over. Now second we will see the projections in the plane. So since we are dealing with surfaces, they are in R3. Now it is very difficult to draw figures in R3, so we will mainly consider their projections in the plane. Okay, so if we have a point in space, it will have three coordinates x, y and z. We can consider its projection in any one of the plane. So just like as the two-dimensional space consists of many lines, in the same way the three-dimensional space consists of many planes. So these are the plane. We have the xy plane here, we have yz plane and the xz plane. Also, if you take z equal to 0, it represents the xy plane. If you take x equal to 0, it represents the yz plane. If you take y equal to 0, it represents the xz plane. So all these planes divide the whole space xyz into 8 octants. Now to find projections into any one of the plane, what we have to do is we have to find the projection, we have to draw perpendiculars from the surface to the plane wherever the projection is required. Suppose that a point P is there on this three-dimensional space. So it will have three coordinates x, y and z. So if we project the coordinates into the, if we project the point P into the xy plane, then we will have this coordinate z will be 0. So the projection will be xy 0. Similarly, we can project the point P of xyz into the yz plane. So it will be, if we project into the yz plane, the coordinate will be 0 yz. Similarly, we can project into the xz plane. So when we project it into the xz plane, the point will correspond to x0z. So here y is 0. Okay, so in the xz plane y is 0. Similarly in the yz plane x is 0, and in the xy plane z is 0. So as we projected a point P into the planes, in the same way we can project a surface. So this is a surface. This is a three-dimensional surface. We can project it into the xy plane by dropping perpendiculars from each of these points, and we will see the intersection of these perpendiculars and the plane. So here in this case, the projection of this integral surface, this surface is this area. It's a square. Okay, it have the corresponding x and y values. So it lies in the xy plane. So in this way, we will mainly consider projections to study the nature of the integral surfaces. Next, we will see another theorem which is called the implicit function theorem. This theorem you will study in your another paper in third semester, that is your multivariable calculus. In that subject you will study this in detail. So I will just give you a brief introduction to this theorem because we will be using this theorem in our next section. So what is this theorem is about is that suppose you have a relation of the form f of xy equal to 0 where f is a continuously differentiable function, then the inverse function theorem provides a condition under which this relationship can be written explicitly in the form y equal to f of x. So this is an implicit form. F of xy equal to 0 means a relation between x and y. Now under what condition we can write this as explicitly as y equal to f of x? That sufficient condition is given in the implicit function theorem. So implicit function theorem gives a sufficient condition to ensure that there is such a function for which you can write y equal to f of x. Now we will see what is its relevance. For example, you consider suppose f of xy to be x square plus y square minus 1. So we have x square plus y square, f of xy equal to 0 implies x square plus y square equal to 1. As we know, this is a unit circle in the xy plane. Okay. Now, can we write y equal to f of x form? So this is a very simple example. So you may give the answer as y equal to plus or minus root of 1 minus x square. So there is a function. But is this a graph of a function? Because is this a function at all? Because if I write y equal to f of x, I have two values, y equal to plus or minus root of 1 minus x square. Okay, so you can see that there is a plus value and a minus value. So this is not a function. Okay, so that is the importance of implicit function theorem. Now you see, if I take, what is the difference is that in the positive side, in the upper half plane, it represents plus root of 1 minus x square, and in the lower plane it represents, this arc represent minus root of 1 minus x square. Now if I see any point P on this circle and if I take a neighborhood of it, then I can say that in a small neighborhood of P, this is a function. So this function is well defined, there is no problem. So similarly, if I take a point here and then also I can find a neighborhood of that point in which this will be a function y equal to root of here it will be y equal to minus root of 1 minus x square. So there is no problem, it will be a function. So locally it exists. Locally means in a small neighborhood of the point it exists. But it does not exist globally. That is, at all points it does not exist. For example, if I take in particular, you see the point 1, 0. So in the neighborhood of 1, 0, you can see here it is positive root of 1 minus x square and here it is negative root of 1 minus x square. So I have two values corresponding to one value. So this is not a function. So at the point 1, 0 as well as at the point minus 1, 0, whatever small neighborhood you take, you will get two different values of y. Isn't it? Corresponding to one value of x, you are getting two different values of y. One positive and one negative. So whatever small neighborhood you take, you will have that problem. So it means that at these points it is not a function. So this does not represent a graph of a function. It represents graph of function except these 2 points. Or we can say that locally this is true. So it means that we cannot invert it like this. So that is a problem, and the implicit function theorem gives a condition by which you can always ensure that such a explicit form is possible. That is, you can write y equal to f of x such a way that it should be a function. In that way, it is possible, and that condition is given by the implicit function theorem. So that is the need of the implicit function theorem. Now, we will see the implicit function theorem for R2. So in R2, so you consider a continuously differentiable function f from R2 to R, and there is a point x0, y0 in R2 such that f at x0, y0 equal to c. Then the condition is this: if partial derivative of f with respect to y, dou f by dou y, at the point x0, y0 is not equal to 0, then there is a neighborhood of x0, y0, so that whenever x is sufficiently close to x0, there is a unique y such that f of xy equal to c. Moreover, this assignment makes y as a continuous function of x. It means that we can write y equal to f of x as a continuous function of x, provided dou f by dou y at that point should not vanish. So if it vanish, it's not possible. So here also we have a function from R2 to R. Okay. Now we see at this point what is dou f by dou y. So here the function is x square plus y square equal to 1. So you can see that dou f by dou y, which is 2y, it vanishes at this point 1 0 and at this point minus 1 0. At these 2 points, dou f by dou y is 0, and hence we could not find even a very small neighborhood of these points in which we can find the inverse, or the function is not defined in a very small, even if you take a very small neighborhood of these points, we are unable to define a function because there are two values. So it happens because dou f by dou y was 0 at those 2 points. So this is a condition for a function from R2 to R. This should not be 0. Now, similarly, we extend this. I'm not going into deep into the statement of implicit function theorem. This you will study in detail. We just need the statement here. So where in general, if you have a function from Rn plus m to Rm, then this is inversion, or this assignment as y as a continuous function of x is possible if Jacobian is not equal to 0, or Jacobian is invertible. So what is Jacobian? So suppose u is a function of x and y, v is a function of x and y, then the Jacobian of uv, in PDE we will denote it by this symbol. This stands for Jacobian. This is dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y. So this is the notation we will use in PDE for denoting Jacobian of uv, where u is a function of x and y and v is a function of x and y. And this is defined to be determinant ux vy, ux uy, vx vy. And we know this determinant value is ux vy minus uy vx. So in this way we have to find the Jacobian. So Jacobian is invertible, means its determinant should be non-zero. So by implicit function theorem, what we conclude here is that we can find a explicit function as y equal to f of x if and only if the Jacobian does not vanish. That is, Jacobian is not equal to 0. And in the PDE, in this way, the Jacobian is defined. This you have to remember. This notation we will make use of. Okay, so I have just given a brief description of implicit function theorem. You will study it in detail in multivariable calculus. So what is important? So in this class we have just seen Hadamard's condition of well-posedness and how do we project projections of a surface into planes. So I will also give you a video in which the projections are explained in a better way. Okay, so the surface may be in any form, but the projections sometimes it will be a straight line, sometimes it will be a parabola, sometimes it will be a square, like that. There are so many conditions. So how we are finding the projections, that is explained in that video. And in the last we have seen the implicit function theorem, which says that if the Jacobian is not equal to 0, then we can assure that the function can be written explicitly y equal to f of x form. Okay, so thank you. We will stop here.